The racist, anti-Christian significance of Star Wars. By name 707. Most people who would consider themselves black and who grew up in the 1980s probably have little or no idea that the most successful motion picture franchise of that era was, like most Hollywood movies, a false morality tale laced with hidden racist and anti-Christian undertones. These movies were presented as parallels to well-known stories about the Messiah of the Hebrew Israelites. One should be forgiven for believing this tale of good and evil culminates in an uplifting climax with underdog heroes overcoming almighty villains, in the process restoring order to a chaotic universe. Naturally, young disenfranchised blacks would warm to these themes and propositions. Yet a question remains to be answered about this particular rendition of the universal struggle. Albeit impressive and in places flawlessly executed, the story breaks with a traditional Judeo-Christian motifs that relies upon for its upright grounding. One may wonder why two main villains are portrayed, rather than just one ultimate source of evil. If this popular saga was meant to mirror the epic struggle between a Christ-like figure and his arch-nemesis the devil, analogous to Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader respectively, then who exactly is the evil emperor supposed to be? Let's quickly revise the story of Satan the devil, as prescribed by the Hebrew scriptures from which it derives. Satan was once an angel in heaven. He rebelled against his creator and master, and, having seduced 1/3 of them, he caused a war between the other angels. The issue at stake was Satan's rejection of the creation, his enmity towards man. Satan believed that original men were flawed, and did not deserve all that they'd been given. He refused to reverence them, accused them and the creator of all manner of things. He sought to replace them with his own attempts at godhood. 3 out of 9 angels turned against the creator. The archangel Michael is the right hand of the creator. Michael fought with Satan and ejected him and the other rebels from heaven. Now, having established the genuine article of the story of good and evil, we can compare it to George Lucas's curious take on events. George Lucas's magnum opus, or great work of art, was broken up into 2 trilogies of narratives. The first trilogy, created between the late 1970s and early 80s, cunningly showcased the culmination of Lucas's tale. George Lucas may have chosen to do this simply to delay a proper comprehension of his work. The first trilogy, episodes 4, 5 and 6, A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back and The Return of the Jedi, tells the tale of Luke Skywalker, a naive orphan farm boy living on a lifeless world who fulfills his destiny, tapping into the power of a mystical energy field known as the Force to become a Jedi Knight, hoping to find the truth of his heritage and thus undermining a galactic empire administrated by Darth Vader, a supposedly evil Sith Lord. Luke discovers that Vader is none other than the famous Jedi Knight, Anakin Skywalker, his father. He attempts to turn Vader away from the dark side of the Force, against the supposedly evil Emperor Palpatine. So, in effect, Lucas tells a peculiar tale which appears to be about the power of redemption, using as a lever a father-son relationship. On the surface, the messianic hero Luke with his companions, his sister Leia, and the reformed space buccaneer Han Solo, seem like a trio of wholesome characters fighting as part of a rebellion against universal evil. Certainly there is similarity between this and the traditional story of the fall of Satan. Anakin and Satan are given to vain appraisals of their own abilities. Yet the comparisons end there. Anakin Skywalker is given by filmmaker George Lucas a virgin birth. This attempts to parallel the birth of the Hebrew Messiah, known to many as the Christ. He also becomes the right-hand man of the Emperor. This is reminiscent of the relationship between the Archangel Michael and the Creator. So who is Anakin Skywalker supposed to represent? Satan or Michael/Christ? How can he represent Satan when his master the Emperor exists as the ultimate evil? George Lucas conflated 2 characters, a good father and a bad father figure, into one character, Anakin Skywalker. By the way, Darth Vader is close to the German for Dark Father. Religious people will be aware of the Judeo-Christian tale of man's disgrace at the behest of a serpent. Many believe wrongly that Satan was once called Lucifer, an archangel who fell from heaven. The truth is somewhat less convenient. It discloses the existence of an unintended life form on this planet. According to the scriptures, the first human was expelled from paradise because he disobeyed the will of the Creator by sampling the knowledge of good and evil. A garrison of cherubim, covering or watching angels, was left to guard Eden from those compromised humans. According to the prophet Ezekiel, these covering angels transgressed, and were themselves banished from the holy mountain which housed the Garden of Eden. This has been mistaken as the story of the fall of Lucifer, when it is merely a clarification of the genesis of race. In the book of Genesis, and Apocrypha, Adam's offspring, as a consequence of sexual relations between angels and the daughters of men, spawned abnormal life. The resulting anomalies are described as Nephilim, or comparative giants. The prophet Noah was chosen to preserve original man despite a cataclysm, which destroyed all other land-based life and yet left the earth, although ruined by this global flood, in a habitable state. Up until this point, Satan exists behind the scenes, pulling strings. He is not the covering angel who spawned the first Nephilim. In the book of Jude, Satan is seen to argue with the archangel over the righteousness of Moses. Moses was born after Noah. Thus Satan existed in heaven after the flood. Let's clarify that a bit. Satan watched the covering angel pervert humanity, spawning monster races, being punished, confined to a world destroyed by a global flood. Satan watched as Noah's family repopulated the earth. Satan still opposed men. He still accused them. He still desired to replace them. Lucas's inverted fiction is more compatible with this than it is with the false dogmas ingrained in the minds of most who call themselves Christian. Thus, Anakin Skywalker has two components: the rebel covering angel who became a father, and the loyal archangel Michael. Still not convinced that this is all based upon Hebrew lore? Well, take a closer look at Vader's original movie breastplate. It's marked in false biblical Hebrew. Translated it reads, "His deeds will not be forgiven until he merits." Now, I've looked. Nowhere in the Hebrew scriptures is there any mention of forgiveness for Satan. The Sith and the Jedi represent warring factions of angels. The Sith remaining loyal to their master, and the Jedi rebelling against him. This may seem confusing, considering the Jedi are portrayed as heroes, but once we investigate further, a proper comprehension of the anti-Christian and racist nature of these fictions will become self-evident. Let's recap. Thus far we have determined the following. Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, is the covering angel who fathered the Nephilim. Darth Vader as a Sith Lord is the Archangel Michael, or the Christ. This means that Luke Skywalker and his sister Leia Organa must represent the Nephilim. Is there anything in the story to support this claim? Let's take a moment to comprehend the true order of events prescribed in the scriptures. There are, or were, two waves of Nephilim. The first were killed by the flood of Noah. You may know of some of them as the theoretical monsters, named by science as Dinosauria. The second wave of Nephilim must be the tyrannical beast spoken of in the book of Revelation, raised from the sea by Satan the dragon, after his ejection from the celestial realm. Also known as the children of the wicked one, spoken of by Christ in his parable of the wheat and tares. And the mortal Lucifer, spoken of by Isaiah, existing as a man in our present, post-diluvian world. Now, is there evidence to suggest the Skywalker children represent these new Nephilim? Let's look at their mother, Padme Amidala. A simple web search throws up an inclusion in a Buddhist mantra, the Om Mani Padme Hum. In English this repeated chant goes something like, "Hail the jewel of the lotus." Let's take a look at the lotus. According to the adherents of this mantra, the lotus symbolizes wisdom. They say just as a lotus grows forth from mud, but is not sullied by the faults of mud. So wisdom avoids contradiction. Interesting choice of words, grows forth from the mud but is not sullied by the faults of the mud. Lucas claims he based the Jedi on Eastern warriors and Buddhist monks. Disturbingly, the Ku Klux Klan with other white Nazis and white supremacists have been known to embrace Eastern philosophies such as Buddhism because of their favorable esteem for the Aryan language-speaking races. These racists have been known to refer to black people as mud people or the mud race. This establishes nothing apart from Lucas's deliberate choice of name for the mother of the Skywalker children, being an unfortunate one. But wait a moment. Where have we heard the charge that original mud people had faults? That's right. Satan, the devil of Hebrew and Arabic lore, is known to have claimed that original men were flawed. Even more remarkable, Satan's Nephilim offspring Lucifer, properly, Hail el-Ben-Sheker, is the son of the Canaanite god of dawn. According to Canaanite mythology, the god of dawn had a twin, the god of dusk. Luke, commonly associated with light. From the Greek lucus, white or bright, or the Latin lux, light. Leia, the name has been pronounced with either a long A or a long E sound, as the former, Leia, has been called a variant of Leela, a Semitic name meaning night. Does this confirm that Luke Skywalker is indeed analogous to Lucifer? We have discussed the way in which Lucas's rendition of the universal struggle between good and evil compares to the Judeo-Christian narrative, and we've concluded that Lucas is offering an alternative take on things. We focused on the possibility that Luke Skywalker is an elogist to the Canaanite Übermensch, Hail el-Ben-Sheker, known to us as Lucifer, and we've identified his mother and father as being components of questionable mythology concerning the origins of an unnatural race. If we take a look at other mythologies, we can reinforce our findings and conclude George Lucas is a proponent of anti-Christian and racist dogmas. According to at least one source, the name Skywalker has alternate etymology in the name of the Norse god of fire, Loki, or should I say, Loptir, the god of mischief. Perhaps that's not a great comparison until we realize Loki is the closest thing Norse mythology has to Satan, or his offspring Lucifer. Isn't that peculiar? Maybe, but I guess it's not half as peculiar as the Egyptian word for snake or serpent. Apparently this word is related to the name of a Caribbean form of witchcraft known as Apir. I stumbled upon an article about an obscure religion from Antichristian linking this practice with what are called Obi men. I couldn't contain my surprise when it turns out the word Obi is related to yet another name of Satan. Read for yourself. It is remarkable that while the etymology of Obi has been sought in the names of ancient deities of Egypt, and in that of the serpent in the language of the coast, the actual name of the evil deity, or devil, in the same language, appears to